Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I will be bringing you my review of episode 8 from The Last of Us. We are almost near the end, and I have to admit, this last episode was really good. Probably the second best episode of the season so far. Still, in my opinion, was episode 2. That clicker scene was awesome. Really wish we saw more zombie-type creatures in this show. I feel like that's really lacking, and we should have seen more clickers, but hey, it is what it is. We're talking about episode 8, and again, really enjoyed it. Did a fairly good job adapting from the video game. Little minor changes here and there, but nothing crazy. It was pretty on point, and I really enjoyed it. So we pick up where we left off from episode 6, where Joel is still injured. We see Ellie trying to care for him, and they're running out of food and supplies. So she takes it upon herself, grabs a rifle, goes hunting, bags herself a big buck. That's pretty impressive for your first time out. But after she takes her shot and she goes looking for the buck, she stumbles upon David and James. Now, we see David and James a little bit before this scene, and we see that their group is kind of in dire need. They're struggling a little bit. They look rough. They all look worried. They look scared. James and David are having a little discussion, and we hear them talking about their food supplies and how they basically have 2 weeks of food left. They do really good job setting the tone and what type of situation that group is in. After that conversation, James and David decide that they need to go hunting, and they stumble across Ellie's kill. Well, Ellie stumbles upon them, and she finds out that they have medicine, and she knows that from taking care of Joel, it looks like he's getting an infection from the wound. So she decides to trade half of the buck for medicine. David tells James to get the penicillin and come back. And while they're sitting there, they're having a discussion and talking about things. We find out that David's essentially a preacher, telling Ellie that, everything happens for a reason, which she doesn't believe. And then while they're having a conversation, Ellie finds out that the group of men that attacked Joel and injured him were part of this group, because only one of them survived, came back and said it was a crazed man with a little girl. So they put 2 and 2 together. Ellie has now put 2 and 2 together. James returns pointing a gun, but we see David tells James to lower the pistol and lets Ellie get away. We could tell that something's off with David. He's kind of taking a liking to Ellie. We don't know exactly why as of yet, but we do find out why as it goes on. Ellie returns back to Joel. You can already see the next day that he's cleared up a little bit, so he's obviously getting better from that. But as she is outside, she notices crows and whatnot flying out from trees. Well, usually that means there's some type of movement. Something is disturbing them, and that's why they're fleeing. Anyone with a brain would realize that it's probably somebody coming to look for them, which it was. Ellie returns back to Joel and says, hey, there are men coming here looking for you. You need to stay awake. Don't go back to sleep. You need to defend yourself. I'll try to lead them away. So Ellie does try to do that on her horse, and unfortunately, that doesn't last very long. They end up shooting the horse. Ellie falls, and they get her, and they take her captive. David again stops James from killing Ellie and says, if you want justice, basically go find the man that she's with, but this one's mine. This is the part that I have been wanting to see. We finally get to see Savage Joel, which, man, it was so cool to see. Joel, obviously, he's still healing. He's not 100%, but he's able to defend himself. He kills one of them. He takes a couple of the others captive. We see how Joel is basically torturing the guy, and then once he gets his information, he eliminates that one. He moves on to the next guy, and you think he's going to kind of torture him, too, to confirm the information. He goes, oh, no, I know he was telling the truth, and he just straight up murders the guy. Like, that is the badass Joel that I've been wanting to see throughout this series. Then getting back to Ellie, when she's in that cage, she sees what's going on. They're eating people because they're starving, they're running out of meat, they've been eating the dead, which is gross. But then we see David trying to convince Ellie to, hey, like, I can help you. David sees the type of person that Ellie is. She's a strong fighter type, and he thinks that they can become powerful together to lead this group, even though Ellie's like a kid and he's a grown adult. We know what they're alluding to or what kind of person David is. Ellie fights this, breaks his finger. David fights back, breaks her nose, it looks like. Says he's going to chop her up into little pieces. When they get her out of the cage, Ellie uses the fact that she's been bit to her advantage. She ended up biting David, so James and David are kind of confused. And upon that confusion, Ellie uses that time to grab a knife and kill James. Fun little fact about James. James is the voice actor who played Joel in the video game, so it was a nice little nod to the video game. Thought that was really cool. She eliminates James and runs away. David follows Ellie. They get into a scuffle. We see what David is trying to do. Ellie gets out, loses her stuff, and kills David. I'll say this, I just knocked on the actress who played Ellie last episode. I think she did a really good job in this one. The emotional aspect of it, like her breaking down and losing her stuff and just chopping them up time and time and time again, she did a really good job. It was buyable, like I believed it, and it was emotional. It was an emotional scene. The only thing I didn't care for is after that scene, she leaves, and then we see Joel show up, right? And she's covered in his blood, and she's having kind of like a breakdown. My only question is, what happened to the rest of the town? I know in the game, they kind of fight their way out, which would make sense, but I feel like the rest of the town is gone. I don't know where everyone else is. I don't know, like, that just wouldn't happen. Again, really enjoyed the episode. Thought it was good. Well acted. It was awesome to see Joel finally be a badass. I wish we saw more of it, though, because we get to see so much of it in the game. This would have been a good episode to see him kind of fight his way to get Ellie. But, you know, it's okay. Like, it's not perfect, but it was pretty good nonetheless. But let me know what you guys think of this episode. Like I said, I think this was the second best episode as of yet. But I'm always curious as to what you all think. So let me know in the comments below. Love to hear your thoughts. If you liked the video, smash that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, take care.